The National Guard is now being deployed to the DNC. All right, check it out.
Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker confirmed today that he's called up about 250 members of the Illinois National Guard to be on standby during the convention, many of them already here at Chicago Police Headquarters.
We have 13,000 National Guard in the state of Illinois, and very proud of those National Guardsmen, and we do call them up when we really need them.
Governor J.B. Pritzker today confirming a tip to Fox 32 that some 250 Illinois National Guard troops have been activated to assist Chicago police. Many of those guardsmen are being billeted at police headquarters at 35th and Michigan, and we saw some standing outside the building earlier today. Photos obtained by Fox 32 also show the Guard inside police headquarters. Pritzker says those being called to duty are trained...
Hold on. Let me back up for a second. Why is the one on the right standing the way that he's standing? I'm just curious. Why is the National Guard on the right? Is this still don't ask, don't tell? Is this still don't ask, don't tell? That one on the right, y'all know how we get distracted. Don't worry about it. We're going to stay focused today. We got a lot to get through.
Side police headquarters. Pritzker says those being called to duty are trained as police officers with experience in crowd control, and he explained how they'll be used.
They are really on standby. They are, at the perimeter. Nobody expects that we'll have to use them for anything very serious, but we also want to make sure that we have additional law enforcement type folks who are in uniform and who are trained to be police available.
During the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee last month, 1,700 Wisconsin National Guard troops were deployed to assist security efforts. And it's not just the Guard being used in Chicago. On Saturday, Police Superintendent Larry Snelling deputized about 300 police officers from Milwaukee and downstate Illinois to work with Chicago police.
I want to reassure everyone that we will have resources in every single neighborhood. So it's not forgotten that we have a city to protect. It's not.
The reason that they're telling you this is because there's been countless examples and plenty of things where you've basically seen, like, for example, the Grand Prix and different events that was happening in Chicago. And what's happened is, because Chicago is short so many police officers, the ones that are there are being overworked. And then the ones that are there, they're also being deployed to the major event because they only care about optics and their reputation, as though their reputation is not already going down the drain. And they're not as concerned about what's happening to the citizens. So what happened is, because they're removing ShotSpotter, even though the suburbs are starting to install ShotSpotter, Chicago is reducing it because they have to allocate the majority of their budget over to social services and to the migrant crisis. And then they can't pay police officers. Police officers are dying at a historic rate. On top of that, what happened was the neighborhoods were just completely open for criminals. And then you had historic rates of crime and murder and shootings and all of this stuff. So Larry Snelling, the Chicago police superintendent, is saying that they learned from their mistakes. And so they're going to pull in the National Guard to help assist and play the role of police officers in addition to whatever it is and whatever security is going on with the Democratic National Convention. Because the Democratic National Convention is this week, and we're going to be covering it extensively. Of all of the speeches, you know that, who is it? Michelle Obama is speaking, Sean Fain from the UAW. Lots of all-star lineup people are speaking in order to get you engaged in politics, right, and get you to vote. So that is basically what's happening in Chicago, right? They have the National Guard parading around as overglorified police officers. Protesters are out there en masse. I might even shoot over to Chicago this week. What do I got going on in Chicago? Going on this week? I might have to shoot over to Chicago. But anyway, so they're trying to allocate the majority of the police officers into the neighborhood as well as policing the Democratic National Convention, and that's one of the reasons why they pulling in the National Guard. All right, in addition to that, Subway employees. I heard it was like 23 different Subways that closed, and employees had to leave out without final checks. Check it out.
Well, they were working until suddenly they weren't. More than 200 employees across 23 different Subway restaurant locations in our region are now without jobs.
This after they learned their locations were being shut down unexpectedly. Fox 12's Carly Olson spoke with some of those employees today and tried to find some answers. Carly?
Pete and Nora, I'm here outside of the Subway location in Gladstone, which is off of Southeast McLaughlin Boulevard. And as you can see, the door here is locked. We got the chance to speak to some former employees from this location today who tell us they received no notice, no reasons, and no final paycheck.
No warning, no heads up, no transparency, completely and totally blindsided every one of us.
It's the same sign on the door of each location announcing just a temporary closure. And it's about all that manager Joanne Kennedy knows about the situation.
So a few weeks ago, things just kind of went downhill at a very fast rate. Everything was good one day and then our order didn't come, so we didn't have food.
She says they were told the food order was being resolved and to keep working, which they did until the food ran out.
And then our food orders started getting declined.
Another manager, Crystal, says everything finally came to a head last week.
Monday rolled around. It was like, you guys are not getting paid. We don't have any money to pay you.
Nearly 24 other Subway locations from Vancouver to Bend experienced mysterious closures, all of them franchised by Captain Enterprises and Subfecta LLC. Both Joanne and Crystal have reached out to the owners for answers, but all they've been told is to file through the Bureau of Labor and Industries for their final paychecks, which can take up to 100 days to process.
Yeah, I've got a car payment coming up, I've got insurance, I got cell phone bills, I live paycheck to paycheck, supporting my kids. I don't know where I'm gonna get grocery money now.
Now I'm struggling to, where am I gonna get the money? Where am I gonna find the finances to pay these bills, to pay, for groceries?
Joanne has found another job in the meantime, and Crystal is hoping for unemployment benefits until she can decide next steps. But they're still recovering from the shock of having their longtime careers ripped away and not having any idea why it happened.
I've cried for over a week and a half. You put so much trust in somebody who says they're gonna take care of you and it's gonna be okay and you're gonna be fine. And it's the trust that's broken.
That's why let us all work for over 2 weeks.
So they can get the majority of the money that they can out of this. And then ultimately, they were going down. And so what they did was they had you sell out all of the rest of the food. They had already soured relationships because they probably wasn't paying their bills with their suppliers. And now you are the recipient of the unemployment line. Yes, you are. Yes, you are the recipient of unemployment. Yes, you are. So shout out to y'all, all of y'all, the 23 Subway closures. It's going to be layoffs everywhere. Everywhere is laying off. Stellantis, Cisco, I heard that it was layoffs in Cisco. Big Tech, it's layoffs from low to high. Layoffs is everywhere. So welcome to the new Harris Biden economy that you can look forward to if you vote her into office for the next 4 to 8 years. 4 to 8 more years of what you've basically seen during this, all right? And then last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, Thailand has sworn in a new female 37-year-old prime minister. Check it out.
To Thailand, where Anton Daniels has become the country's youngest ever prime minister. The 37-year-old says she's very honoured and happy to take up the post. Her selection by Thailand's parliament marks the return of the Shinawatra dynasty. She's the daughter of the billionaire tycoon and former leader Thaksin. Former Prime Minister Sethaway Sin was dismissed earlier this week by the Constitutional Court. Well, Paetongtarn Shinawatra has been speaking in the past hour.
I talked to my family and I talked to a lot of people from my party, and I decided that it's about time to do something for the country and for the party as well. And I hope that I can do my best to make the country go forward. That's what I try to do. And right now, of course, today I feel very honored and I feel very happy.
Well, let's go live now to Bangkok and our Southeast Asia correspondent Jonathan Head. And Jonathan, so she's a new face, but familiar family.
Familiar family, and in some ways a familiar face, because she did lead the campaign of the party last year. She's a good campaigner. And as you have seen from that clip, she comes across as quite natural and young and excited by the job. And I think a lot of Thais will like that. But the Shinawatra family are controversial. There are many conservative Thais who don't trust her father, Thaksin Shinawatra. That is the reason, almost certainly, why the court ruled against his previous nominee, former Prime Minister Seta. So, you know, for somebody who's inexperienced like Petong Tan, she's got a tough job to do. She's got to watch out for the courts moving against her. She has to hold together a very uneasy coalition, including a lot of conservative parties that still don't like her father. And she has the promise that her party's given to revive an economy in Thailand, which has been stuck with low growth for many, many years now. They've kind of run out of options. And so, you know, it's quite a lot for a person that young and inexperienced to be taking on.
Yes, because you mentioned...
So, in other words, it's really other people behind the scenes, including her father, that is running the show and not necessarily her. So somebody actually said it in the chat, and I was thinking that also, is that she's basically a figurehead. Similar to what we have in Biden today. He's a figurehead, and there's other people that's really running the show behind the scenes, maybe even Kamala Harris herself. It's one of the reasons why we have such a trash economy. Then everybody is getting laid off, and wages and inflation is not keeping up with each other. But 37-year-old young prime minister woman that is now the figurehead of Thailand. And so I'm sure that since the economy is sucking a lull, anybody that's going over there to get some lady boys, I know it's a lot of passport bros that go back and forth over to Thailand. Not saying that y'all like lady boys, but sometimes you don't even know what you're getting. That's basically what's happening in Quick Hits, ladies and gentlemen.